Hey, Gen Mexers. It is June and the peso is going crazy. So it's June 8th when this is coming out. I'm recording it on Friday. We're releasing it on Saturday. I wanted to bring a quick video to you because uh, big changes are happening in the peso, and I wanted to explain what's going on. But in order to explain what's going on, I figured I needed someone who knows what's going on. So I found my favorite expert in the banking world of Mexico, and that is Bernardo from Actinver. He is in their Cabo office, and he runs their expat banking. So he is very familiar with exchange rates because his clients, his group of Actinver is all about helping foreigners with banking in Mexico or with investment banking in Mexico. So let's see here. Let's jump in. And actually, I'm really excited because Bernardo is on vacation. He is in La Ventana, and so he's on vacation. But he said he'd jump on this call really quick to share with you guys his viewpoint. So Bernardo, thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome, Brighton. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So what is going on? Why has the peso in the last week, it's over 10% of change?
Well, it's very interesting. We would have expect some volatility before the Mexican elections. It didn't happen at all. We were on Friday before the elections, and dollar was still on 1670, 1680, a little bit of, I don't know, 10, 15 cents. But after the elections, and it's not something we didn't expect, but Morena, which is a Mexican party, has the majority in the Congress. They also won the presidency. We have we're going to name a woman president now in Mexico, which is, I think, a good milestone. But the markets, what the markets are seeing right now is that Morena has a majority in the Congress, and they will have the ability to change laws or rules that have been traditional in Mexico, like it would be retirement plans, for example, like it would be even federal government retirement plans for all the teachers, for all the doctors. So there's a lot of noise around budget with what's going on. But what's happening right now is the fear of the party changing the rules of the game in Mexico. And that's kind of what has everyone wondering what's going on. So what we're seeing right now, well, a lot of people were expecting a better rate to exchange the dollars. So when it reached 18 a few days ago, it went down again to 1740 because people wanted to exchange. But today we even saw 1850, yeah? So right now it's around 1835, 1836, which is a great rate to exchange right now, but if we take into account what Mexico was or is paying in our federal government bonds or CETES, what it's just called is 11.25, that comes from 1650, and if we add 11.25, it goes up to 1820, 1830, So kind of the Mexican bonds or the Mexican treasury bonds protect us up to 1820, and from now on, there is like unknown territory. But so that's what we're seeing right now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I had kind of expected things to change before the election, and it really kind of caught me by surprise because Claudia Sheinbaum was by far the anticipated winner. And then as soon as it actually happened, that's when things took off. But I guess it also has to do with Congress and a supermajority. So
yes, but you need to also take into account that Mexico is a very divided social class country. There's a very wealthy, there's a very poor, and the medium class is growing. But the wealthy people or the high class had never thought that Morena could have the majority of the Congress, yeah. But it's just because they're not mixed with the lower class. It's but if you were to ask the waiters, taxi drivers, everyone on the street, you will be clear who was going to win and for how much. I mean, what is going on right now doesn't surprise me or many other Mexicans, but it seems that it's surprising the wealthy Mexicans and people who move the money. And also, for sure, it gives some uncertainty to international institutions that are bringing money to Mexico. So we call this, in the industry, we call this capital golondrino, which is like a bird capital, which flies very fast or moves very fast, So anyone that was making 11% in Mexico and against their investment in the US with a 5%, so they were making let's say 10%. So they might be holding back or waiting to what's going on, and a lot more are also exchanging the dollars into pesos to take the advantage of the exchange rate. Now, I think this is not the end of what's going on with the peso dollar. It's volatility, not meaning that I expect a 19 or a 20 exchange rate. Is not impossible, but I don't see it happening in the short term. But we also have the U.S. elections in November, so that's also this type of election year in Mexico, U.S. the same year has been historically a high volatility environment where a lot of people can make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. I mean, this is something, this is a global thing. There is so much investment from outside moving into Mexico, which is definitely impacting exchange rates. And it's a very, I guess, liberal government in terms of, socialist policies that help the poor. So those aren't necessarily the policies that help the wealthy and the businesses, because I mean, it was a pretty typical. The Conservative Party was very pro-business, and they did not win, and they did not win a lot of seats in Congress. The party that's about social programs gained and has more control to change things around. So I can't say how that's going to work out. That's probably some of that change in how foreigners view the Mexican economy or foreign businesses. So it sounds like it's a little bit complicated. Let's see here. If you were to look maybe a couple of years out, where do you think the peso is going to be? And if you have any opinion on which direction it's going to go, depending on an election in the United States, thoughts
Well,
there?
if what we do is we look at many forecasts. Every financial institution has a forecast for the peso. You can see high and lows, but the forecast is between 1780 and 1850. That's kind of the most realistic forecast for the biggest 10 financial institutions, including BlackRock, Actinver. All the analytics from financial institutions see the peso dollar between 1750 and 1850. And
Mm-hmm.
I would think that's a fair value. And you were covered with that with the Mexican Treasury bond already in all these years. So if it will amaze me a lot if it go higher than 19. And it's in finance, everything's possible because nobody has like a wandering bubble, or we
Yep.
cannot
Crystal ball,
predict
yeah.
the future, crystal ball. But at the end, a fair price, said by many analysts, is between 1850 and 1750. So we're right there right now. Yeah.
Okay, so now is, probably a good time if you've got dollars and you want to move them into pesos. If you've got something that you're going to have to be buying, if you're buying a house or something like that, we're probably right in that range where things will be for the next little bit. Of course, I exchanged some pesos right before the election, or exchanged some dollars into pesos right before the election. But, I'm also a big fan of doing things in small increments. And actually, this is something that I've been doing with Actinver Bank. I am working with Actinver. I have an account there now. So I am an account holder, and I've been playing with all the different features and transferring money with Wise and XE and different ways, so that I'll be able to make a big video about working with Actinver Bank, because I have been really happy with them in terms of the information that they're sharing, and also as an account holder, how things are going, how it's working out for me. And I am making some, I think I'm in a 9%, the ActiGov B fund.
Yeah.
So I'm in a mutual fund that's paying around 8 or 9%. So, and pretty stable. So I think there are, and that's a bond fund. So don't compare that to the stock market, but, there are some good options. And I like the idea now of holding money in multiple currencies, so that I've got a block of money in peso. So if things really start to go down again, or down for us, up for the peso, that I've got a chunk of money in a bank in Mexico that I can draw off of. And kind of having money in different currencies is good when things are starting to become more volatile.
Yes, that's how you hedge against the market. I mean, the markets is going to have some volatility. Also, U.S. elections, they're going to have some volatility in the stock market, not just in the currency market. So the way you can hedge is with diversifying your investment, right? So right now we're putting out a few dollar option investments that takes into account the volatility, and we can make a rate with the risk of exchanging the dollars at certain point. So what we do always is we cannot predict the future, but we can take advantage of what's going on right now. Yeah. So what's going on right now gives the ability to the investors to make a smart move and expect a higher exchange rate. But in the meantime, we made a very nice yield waiting for that. And the risk is only to get converted at a higher rate than it is right now. So we design new investments depending on what's going on in the market, because that's the way to go. You cannot just be fixed and say, I'm going to follow this for 10 years. That doesn't work anymore. So right now we're very happy with what's going on. Volatility gives our customers the opportunity to make more money, not just to wait to see what happens. And that's what we're doing. And we're working very hard on that. And I still see many people now, a lot of people are sending dollars to get them exchanged into pesos to take the advantage of the exchange rate, because you're talking about maybe almost 18% of the lowest part of where it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, right? So whatever it was, and I know many developers already changed their price into pesos, so it can be a good opportunity, So you have a 20% discount in 2 weeks. It's a nice thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is amazing. Just, 20% off your margaritas now. If you are traveling, if you're vacationing down into Mexico, your dollar is going to go 20% further than if you'd been vacationing just a few weeks ago. We'll definitely be doing some extra improvements to our house because I'm heading down in a couple weeks, and I was like, oh, well, now it's a good time to invest in projects and whatnot, and food and margaritas. So.
Yeah, below 17, we were advising a lot of customers, because also Mexicans have a big percentage of their wealth in dollars. It's a hedge against inflation, and it has historically been. So when it went below 17, we advised many customers to add some US dollars to the portfolio. And some of them are already selling right now. We understand some of them are very afraid of it going higher, maybe, but they still already make 20% in 1-2 months, So it's a nice deal.
Yeah. So we have to remember that, this is an interesting point, is that that the Mexican people who are investing are on the opposite side of this sometimes, but also that the exchange rates don't necessarily affect the Mexican population. So the exchange rate are something that definitely affects the foreign population in Mexico, because we have dollars in the bank and we're spending pesos, so that change is going to be big, but it's not necessarily impacting very big. It's not like things in Mexico got 20% more expensive for people in Mexico. They just got cheaper for people from the United States. So
that's right.
Yeah. So
go ahead. Not yet. No, we might see if dollar stays there. Of course, there are some commodities that are based in dollars, like gas, like oil, like wood, like iron for buildings. So if the dollar stays 20% higher, of course, we'll see a higher inflation that we have seen right now. But we have stayed below 5.5 for 2 years already. So we have gained some momentum on that side. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there will be some long-term on things that are imported or that are traded in dollars, as you mentioned. So, well, Bernardo, thank you so much for taking time off from your vacation to share your thoughts with us, because I thought, this is time for a video that needs to come out now. There's going to be another video. If you're watching this on Saturday, there's going to be a video on Sunday about Melissa, who is from Canada, and she moved down to La Paz and married Jesus. So some of you have been asking for a video about a woman marrying a Mexican man. I've got that coming for you tomorrow. If you're watching this in the future, that video is already out, and it'll be up here on the screen, up here maybe. And there'll be a link down below if you're looking to learn more about Actinver. I am partnering with them now. So click that link and you can find out more about how you can invest in pesos, and that exchange rate will be a good one. Hasta luego.